Hello and welcome to today's video where we'll talk about post requests in Android Studio, and we're going to use OkHttp version 3 for this. And as always, we're going to try and present everything the easy way. So just a simple straight to the point example. Let me show you what we'll actually build today. What you see here on the left side is the application, how it looks when you first started. It has two edit texts or plain text views. This is the first one for providing a name and the second one for providing a job. Then you press the post request and there is a request sent to the server, and the server will reply, if successful, with a JSON that looks like this, has a name, Mark, I called the student, the job is student, it's one ID, given ID, which is a random number 979 in this case, and created at whatever time and date it was created at. So this is a successful reply from the server. So this is what we'll build today. It's not too much, it's just a simple post request, but it is something that you need to know in order to build applications that will log in, will connect to a server, send some information to ask for things to be modified, updated, changed. So pay attention, learn something new, and use it wisely. So let's go to Android Studio and see how we actually do this. This time I will start by showing you a picture, and what you see here is a web address for an API server, and this will be very useful for you to test your application. I just print or screenshot a portion, and this is relevant for sending post requests. And what you can see here is the URL for sending your request, and this is the base, and followed by this API users. So this will be the entire URL. Then you have the information that you need to send. So you have a name and a job, and the content here can be whatever you chose to send. So you will send this information to the API server, and in response, if everything works out, you will get this response code, and this is the JSON that you will receive in return, your information plus the ID that was assigned and the time it was created on. Okay, so this is what I recommend using. This is a free service. If you choose to give them some donation, I'm sure they will be happy, but it's up to you, of course. So moving on, we're opening Android Studio, and this is an empty project, an empty activity project, and this is what you should see when you create your project as well. On the left side, you have this project folder with the files, folders, whatever makes up your project. In the middle, as I always explain, you have two files, the main activity Java file, where is the main code of your application, and, well, the main code for now. When you will add other classes and other activities and so on, you will have more Java classes, but for now, when you have only one activity. And here in the left side, still in the middle, you have the activity main XML file, and this is where you have the user interface of your application. Okay, but before we actually move to coding and creating the interface, let's get some things out of the way first. And what I mean is this permissions. So you go to App, Manifest, Android Manifest, and you double click, you open this file. And this is the place where you will insert your internet permission, because otherwise your application will not connect to the internet, and of course you will not be able to execute whatever you are trying to execute online. So let's just copy and paste this permission. You can type it in if you want. This is just a simple Android permission for the internet. So this is very important. You can save the file and close it. Then you go for Gradle scripts, and then you take the one that says module. So build, Gradle, and you have module. You double click on it. And this is the place where you will insert your dependencies. So for some reason it didn't open. Let me try again. Here we are. So in the lower part of the file, you have dependencies, and this is where you have to enter the OkHttp dependency. And this is what I found to work very good. You have this square up, OkHttp 3, and version is 4.10.0. And this is what I'm using. Don't forget to sync. So you have synchronize now. Always press the button. It will save you a lot of troubleshooting later on and a lot of stress because you don't know why your application is not working properly. And just give it a bit of time for the Gradle to build. We'll just wait a bit and then we'll move to write the code. Okay, once this is done, you can close the file. And now we can go back to building our application. And let's start with the user interface. We have this hello world text view. Very good, we will use it in a moment, but let's add a button. So actually, what I'm thinking, let's start with, where are they? From text, you have the plain text. We have to add 2 of them as well, because as you remember, we have to take the name and the job of the user. So for the first one, actually, we can create for all of them some horizontal constraints because we are inside the constraint layout. And now for the first one, for the first plain text, I selected a vertical constraint. For the text view, I should delete this vertical constraint for now. So I have this plain text, and I will give it a bit of space so it doesn't touch the upper part of the screen. Even 50 should do, or a bit more. Let's give it a 70, why not? It's good over there. The other text view, I set its vertical constraint and I give it a bit of space. 24 should be enough. For the button, I repeat the same task and I give it some space as well. And for the last one, the text view, I will give it a vertical constraint and the lower one I will just delete. And just as before, I give it a bit of space above. Okay, the next thing I have to do, let me just take these 2 plain texts. I will search for size. I'll make it 20. I will show you what I do for the first text, plain text, and then I will do the same for the second, only a bit faster. First, I need to give it an ID, and this is edit text. Given name. This will be the ID. For the second one, we'll say edit text given job. Okay, instead of a name, we don't want to have a, for the text, we don't need to have any name here. However, we will search for the hint. And instead of the name, we write a hint, and this will say job or enter job. All right, and for the other one, we say for hint, provide name, and we will delete the name. Okay, I will select again both of them and I will search for align. And for text alignment, I will just make it center. I find this looks better. And some of you will like it. Let's just make for these 2 to stretch from left to right as far as the layout permits. Okay, moving to the button. The button will have an ID btn post. And the text will say post request. Then we look for the size to increase the size of the button to 20. This should be large enough. And we need to look for the onClick attribute, and here name the method that will be executed, and I call it onClick. Of course, I get this red warning because this method does not exist at this time, but it will exist later on when I'm going to write the code in the main activity file. And I believe this is everything that I need to do for the button. If I forgot something, I'll figure it out later on. And for the text view that we'll use to display the information that we receive, this will be TV text view show data. Okay, so this is where we show the data. We also search for the size attribute, so we can increase the text size to 20. Should be a bit large, actually, 24. And again, that's all we need to do. I might as well change the text. So instead of hello world, it will say no message from server, or no reply. No reply yet. Okay. We can save everything, and this is our user interface. Very simple. We go to the main activity, and here in the main activity, I'll just increase the size a bit. Let's write some variables, and we begin by saying text view. And that's all we do for now. I'll just put the URL later on inside the button. I should do it here, but I think it's going to be easier for you to understand. Okay, so let's go inside the onCreate method, and this is where we will say text view show text. This will be find view by ID, resource ID, and we search it from the list. And this is show data. I will do the same for the edit text. Okay, with this being done, we can move to writing the method that will be executed when we press the button. And this is going to be public void, and I believe it was on click post. Was it all capitals or not? Let's have a look. On click post, no, it was only like this. Then you have to say view, and you have another view, and you have the curly brackets. You do the proper importation, and this is where we will write the code. And let's begin by providing the URL string. Okay, this is how it goes. This is our string where we will send the request to. Then you have, let's say, given name, and this should be equal to edit text given name dot get text to string. All right, so this is our first string, and this is the second one. This is going to be the given job. Okay, I'm not going to verify if you have written anything inside, if it's not an empty field or something like this. You can even send a blank space, it's not going to influence the response from the server in this case. So this is our strings that we use. Now, as you might know, you have to run whatever code you run in a separate thread, because you're going to work over the network, and you cannot do network operations on the main thread. This is why you will create a new worker thread. So you say a new thread, and this is going to be a new runnable. Okay, you have this, the rest of the code generated automatically, and this will be just start at the end to start the thread. And inside this run method, this is where we will place the rest of our code. And let's start by creating the body of the request. So we say request body. and let's just call it post body for whatever we want to post, and this will be a new form. I have a typo, form body, and we'll just put here before the brackets a builder. All right, and then we're just going to add as such. We are adding name, and I'm showing you the picture again. We have to add a name, and then we have to add a job. So we're adding a name and whatever we have from the edit text, and then we have a job and whatever we've gotten from the edit text. So this is name, comma, give a name, and next we say add, we do again, and this is going to be job and given job. And then you're just going to say build. And this is the request body completed. Moving further, we have to create a request. So we say just a request. Okay, let's make sure we don't have any typos. This will be a new request builder. All right. And okay, this jumped. We will say for URL, we're going to pass the string above. So URL, this is the string above. Then whatever we want to post, this will be our just newly created post body. And then, as before, we have to build everything. And we can close this part. Okay, now, because we are sending some OkHttp request, we need to have a client. So we say OkHttp client. I like the way Android Studio already knows what we are about to type. It's like reading our minds. So I'll just say client, and this is going to be a new OkHttp client. And we're going to have a call, and this is going to be client. Okay, let's see. Can you guess now? No, this time it doesn't guess, but I'm just going to show him it's client and new call. And we have a request that we pass inside here. Now, here we have an error. We have to import the class. So we do this. There's no more error. Okay, we have the client, we have the proper call. Now let's have a look at the response. What response, how do we manage or how do we handle the response from the server? Because so far we've taken care of the part that creates the request body, it creates the request, we have the client, and we can arrange a call, and with all the information above, now we get a response. Okay, let's see what we do with the response. So we say first, okay, response, and first we will make it equal to null. Just to have something, and again, we have to import the class. Okay, now what we have here, we'll just say response will equal call.execute. The problem is we get this red underlining, which means that if you click it over here and you go for the red light, you have to surround it with a try catch. So we do just that. So now we have our response that is null at the beginning. Then we call to see we execute the call, and then we have to handle somehow whatever we receive. So after executing this call, this is where we'll put the rest of our code, and we'll just create a string, and we'll call this server response. So whatever we have received from the server, and this will be equal to response dot body. Here we are, body, and then string. Okay, now we have a string containing our response. We want to do something with this. So what I'm suggesting, let's display this for the user to see. So we want to say something like text view show text. And here we click and we say set text. And we pass it this server response. But this will generate an error because right now we are in a worker thread and this view is on the main thread, user interface thread. So let's run this on user interface. Okay, and this will be a new runnable. Okay, this jumped. I didn't get to click on the runnable. And this should be all for now. Now let's test the application to see if we actually manage to send the request. So I will select one of my virtual devices and I will click run and let's wait a bit. So our application has loaded and we can test it out right now. As you can see, let me just zoom in a bit. It asks for the name and the job. Then we can press the post request and see if we receive a successful registration from the server. So the name will be Mark, and he will be a student. Okay, so let's just minimize the keyboard. If we press the post request, we should get this JSON back from the server and it says name Mark, job student, ID 979 and created at. Well, I hope you have learned something new today. I hope this will be helpful for you in the future. If you have any questions, suggestions, anything to share with myself or with the community, leave a comment below. If you want to see how you can take this JSON and parse it to display it in a more user-friendly way, just check the first video in the description below. So the very first one will show you exactly how to do this. If you need any help with other topics, you can check the long list of videos I've posted about Android Studio, and I'm sure you will learn from them. So until we meet again in the next video, keep practicing, keep learning, and take care. Goodbye.